get that clear. Mr. Mulvaney, as you know, the United States today has more income and wealth inequality than any major country on earth. Top 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. 52% of all new income today is going to the top 1%. But your budget thinks that it is good public policy to provide $52 billion in tax breaks to the wealthiest family in this country, a family already worth $128 billion. You think that a family like the Walton family, where one guy there owns 4 Ferraris and 1 Maserati that are worth more than $65 million, are just in desperate need of massive, massive tax breaks. You think that Sheldon Adelson, who among other things contributed $5 million for the Trump inaugural, is in need of a massive tax break, as well as the Koch brothers. So my question is pretty simple, and I want you to tell the American people why you think it is a good idea to give $3 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1% at a time when the rich are becoming much richer, while at the same time you're going to throw 17 million children in this country off of health insurance because of the unconscionable cuts that you are making to Medicaid. Why you're going to throw seniors in the state of Wyoming or the state of Vermont off the Meals on Wheels program, maybe the one nutritious program that they get a day. Why you're going to throw women and low-income babies off of the WIC program at a time when infant mortality rates in this country was already high. Do you really think it is a great idea to tell a low-income pregnant woman that you're going to take away the WIC program, take away nutrition programs from children in order to give a massive tax break of $52 billion to the Walton family? Please explain your logic to the American people.
I'll see if I can handle each of those in reverse. Actually, let me deal with the CBO first. I can't disparage who I don't know, and I don't think I've ever disparaged the director of the CBO.
You made a dismissive remark about him.
I made it.
Even the CBO. You guys appointed the director.
And again, all I'm telling you is that the results are awful.
But you appointed him, so let's go with that.
I measure performance by results, Mr. Sanders, and if you continuously
Your opinion is that the results are terrible. I'm suggesting that it was a member of the Trump administration who appointed this gentleman, not some kind of radical Democrat.
So we can agree then that the CBO puts out bad data.
No,
okay.
We can't. We can agree that you guys are beating up on a man that you appointed because you don't like his results. But anyhow, get back to the question. Why tax breaks for billionaires and
they're
cuts
not right.
for working class kids?
WIC serves all the projected participants. There's no change there. Meals on Wheels is not reduced at all. The change that we make is through the
CBDG program, which you eliminate.
The block grant thing.
So you eliminate the block grant. You tell me that funds the program. You tell me that doesn't have an impact on the program.
The program is funded, Senator, through the old age or senior nutrition program, I think through HHS, which we don't change.
No, that's not true.
No, it is true, actually. The CDBG program is a block grant to the states, and some states do choose to use some of that
you
money
eliminate
on
that
Meals
program.
on Wheels, and that
All
total.
right, the bottom line is,
Senator, I mean, if you
go ahead, answer the question.
The total money for Meals on Wheels that comes from CDBG is 3%. That's it.
Yeah,
and I don't know how you can possibly contend that we're going to
But you are
kill people with
eliminating
3%.
the program that funds not only Meals on Wheels, but many other programs at the discretion of governors and mayors.
I would be more than happy to have a long discussion about CDBGs. You asked about Medicaid as well. The slashing of Medicaid, the dramatic cuts to Medicaid, is a slower growth rate in Medicaid. There's 1 year exception during the Affordable Care Act where, the American Health Care Act, where the bill calls for the end to expansion, and there's a small reduction that year, but generally speaking, over the 10-year budget, Medicaid spending goes up.
Yeah, but so does healthcare inflation. We go through these games every single year. Inflation is going up a lot faster than the money that you're putting in. Bottom line is, tell me, let me get back to one question.
Sure.
Why do you think the Walton family needs a $52 billion tax break?
My guess is that you're basing that assertion on the only tax detail that we have in the budget.
The repeal of the estate tax. Exactly.
Right. And if we want to have a talk about why we're repealing that, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Good, let's tell me.
Because ordinary people are paying more.
No, ordinary people do not have a wealth of $128 billion. That's not an ordinary person.
The average increase across this nation since
You're not answering the question. The question is, answer the question. The wealthiest family in America gets a $52 billion tax break as a result of the repeal of the estate tax.
That's correct.
Tell the American people why you think that's good when you cut Medicaid and you cut programs for kids.
Again, we don't cut Medicaid. We're talking about repealing Obamacare. The results
Throwing
that you
23
mentioned,
million people off of health insurance. That's right?
which is a CBO number that I think you just agreed could be wrong at the
No,
outset
I didn't
of this
agree to
meeting.
that at all.
Okay. That we repeal Obamacare.
Why does a billionaire family get a $52 billion tax break?
Because
Please tell the American people.
Because we think it's wrong that real, ordinary folks lose coverage, and we want to get rid of the
Ordinary
plan.
people. Is
Yes.
the Walton family an ordinary family?
No, they're not. They're extraordinary. But ordinary people are losing coverage today under Obamacare.
I ask you
and
why
we
the
repeal it.
wealthiest family in America is getting a $52 billion tax
And I'm answering the
break.
question by saying because we repeal Obamacare.
No, you and the estate tax, which applies to the top 0.2%.
Senator, okay, I'm sorry. I thought the assumption was we were looking at the tax reductions that are contained in Obamacare. repeal.
No, that's not what we're
You're mentioning
talking
the
about.
estate
No,
tax.
no, no.
Okay.
We're talking about the repeal of the estate tax, which you
All right.
just mentioned.
The budget assumes a deficit-neutral tax plan, because when we wrote the budget, we did not have nearly enough specifics to assume what you're assuming, which is the specific reductions. Yes, the proposals that the White House published about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the principles that we set forward, does include a reduction of the estate tax.
Repeal of the estate tax, sir.
You said, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a repeal of the estate tax, but I think it's mathematically impossible to take those general principles and assume a direct impact on a particular family. You
No,
can't
that's
do it.
not-
Nobody can do it. I've seen estimates from groups that say, oh, it's going to
No,
add the
that's not-
deficit by
that's-
$2 trillion to $10 trillion. People
No,
are just
that's
making
really
up
not
numbers.
true. I mean, we don't know when people are going to be dying, that's for sure. But you can
I'm sorry,
make
you say
those
we
estimates.
don't know that people are going to
No,
be
you
dying?
don't know when somebody is going to be dying. But the truth is that if the family is worth
I'm
100,
pretty sure they're going to die eventually.
that we can be pretty sure of.
Well, at least we agree on something. Thank you.
Senator Graham.
That was borderline fascinating. So, for 8 years, President Obama presented a budget, which was a proposal, and got 0 votes in the United States Senate or the United States House. It's fair to say we're going to continue that trend.
I might
This
get one or
budget.
two, Senator.
You might get one, but it won't be mine. And let me tell you why. I really appreciate you trying to balance the budget in 10 years. You got the Budget Control Act numbers to deal with. That's correct, right? That's the constraint we imposed on you. And if you're going to balance the budget in 10 years, there's really no good ways to do it. Obama increased taxes by $3.1 trillion in 2017. I think that would devastate the economy. That's probably why it got no votes. Some of the cuts you've made, I think, will have an effect that the country probably doesn't wish for. But you're in a spot of having to balance the budget, increase military spending because we need it, and that makes you, with the BC Act numbers, make very tough choices. So I appreciate you trying.
And we didn't touch Social Security, retirement, or Medicare.
Okay, and so that's my question. Let's not fool people. You did a really good job. The Meals on Wheels is not being gutted. The block grant portion is being eliminated, and that's 3% of funding, is what you said?
Maximum 3%.
So please quit saying things that are not true. There's enough we can say about this budget that is true. So the bottom line is, I would like to eliminate the death tax because I just don't like the concept of taxing people's estate when they die, because every time they made a move while they lived, you tax it. I'd rather have the Walton family take the money and give it away rather than the government grabbing it after they die, because I think the chief philanthropists in this country are a lot of the wealthy people you talked about, and they're doing a lot of good things. They may have a Ferrari in the garage, but I can tell you when it comes to conservation and other things, the Walton family are contributing. So it's just a philosophical difference. If it were up to me, we would have no death tax, because we tax you every time you move while you live. So the bottom line, these are just philosophical debates. It's not meanness, it's just, we just disagree. But the one thing I don't want the public to be misled by is that you do nothing in terms of Medicare and Social Security insolvency, which is coming. Is that correct?
It's correct, so we don't make any proposed changes to Social Security, retirement,
If you
or Medicare.
were able to, if you were unleashed by the president, would you not want to get a grand bargain where we clean up the tax code take away some deductions for the few at the expense of the many, and save Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, Medicare and Social Security from insolvency, which is coming?
Senator, let me answer it this way. When I sat here 3 months ago, and y'all asked me what I was going to do, because sometimes I would disagree with the president, which I thought was one of the reasons he hired me, was that I would lay out options for him. And I did that. And I went into the office. I think we had 4 hour-long meetings on mandatory programs. And I gave him a list of proposed mandatory changes. And at the end of the last meeting, he went, yes, 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 no, no, no. And the answers for no, no, no were Social Security, retirement, Medicare. Because he said, look, I looked people in the eye when I ran for office. I promised I wouldn't change them. I'm keeping that promise.
But here's what the president needs to do. He needs to look people in the eye and tell him that that's an impossible promise if you're serious about getting out of debt. Now, Mr. President, quit playing the game everybody else plays up here. By 2042, Medicare and Social Security alone will consume all the revenue sent to Washington. That's the projection. Is that correct?
I've seen similar numbers, yes, sir.
Because the baby boomers retire en masse, of which I am one. So you can't skip over Medicare. You can't skip over Social Security if you're serious about preventing us from becoming Greece. And to skip over these programs is to allow them to die over time. So the one thing I would say to my Republican colleagues who believe you don't need entitlement reform, including the president, to keep us from becoming Greece, you're wrong. And Mr. Mulvaney, you know the right solution.
I would deliver that message to the President.
Well, thank you. And you have been the solution in my view. Thank you for what you did with the ports. Very innovative solution to funding ports. We'll have a disagreement about MOX, but let me tell you one thing about the budget that does bother me. Soft power. Do you agree with me that we're never going to win the war on terror just through dropping bombs on terrorists?
Senator, I agree that's one of the greatest military challenges we face. You know why we did what we did. Again, it was the president keeping his promise to spend less money on foreign aid.
All I can tell you is that I don't know what it cost the country to ignore Afghanistan before 9/11 to the taxpayer. But when you shoot women in soccer stadiums for sport, when you blow up statues of anybody's religion, to expect nothing to come your way is a huge mistake to the American taxpayer. The King of Jordan is the best ally we could hope to have. We reduced his funding by $279 million. I got a call from the ambassador of Jordan saying, what did we do wrong? Nothing, ma'am. Georgia, a frontline state in the crosshairs of Putin, 66% reduction in their assistance. These people are not owed a dime by the American taxpayer. Foreign aid is 1% of the budget, but I will tell you this, Mr. Mulvaney, from my humble point of view, if we don't help the King of Jordan more at a time of critical need, his kingdom could fall. If we don't push back from Russia and help those in the crosshairs of having their democracy destroyed, I don't know what that cost to the taxpayer is, but to me it is an unacceptable cost. So the reason I'd vote no is because soft power is destroyed in this budget.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you very